I had rarely heard from God. I mean, I prayed a lot, and I believe He spoke, and I just didn't ever hear a full sentence. It was maybe a word, maybe something. And I remember bowing my head, and we were praying, and I heard Him say, "You don't believe I can make your heart whole?" And I didn't, and I was like, "You're right. I don't think there's any way out of this." He just showed me that I defined myself as the lonely housewife. Like I just made that an identity. It was an arrogant thing, for me to say, yeah, Greg's never home, or any of those comments. And not only was it a point of pride for me, but also how much I wounded him when I said that I was alone. And when he shows you that stuff, you're like, I'm so sorry. But it just broke it off. It's like, not that I've never had a lonely moment, but it was just gone. All those years of it's just gone. I don't know. So you just go, okay, wow. That took a long time for me to see that. He did it in His perfect timing, but it's and I hung on to that a long time.
Deanna Black,
Jarrod,
welcome to the podcast.
glad to be here.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question for you. A couple of weeks ago, you came up
Yeah,
and you handed me this book
I did.
right here. This is Charles G. Finney, an autobiography. And you seem to be a little bit emotional about this book. Can I ask you what the story is behind that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great story. Gosh, because I feel like it doesn't start with that book, but the story with that
Where does
book,
it start?
I don't know. Yeah, so it's a long story.
I
The
love
book,
long
I know.
stories.
Okay. So, the book I ordered, and I had, I don't know why I got inspired at some point during a quiet time to order a couple of biographies or autobiographies, and I ordered this one and one on Moody. I'd heard a very little bit about Charles Finney in the last maybe 3 years, and so his was one I ordered, and the copy I got was $5, and it shipping included, Goodreads, and they just 125-year-old copy. It's his memoirs, and it doesn't even have an ISBN number. If you're a book person, that's the little fingerprint code. That's how old it is. They didn't
Yeah.
invent that yet.
Yeah.
I was very excited. It's all in Old English. It's a fantastic book. It's hard to read. There's words you have to look up because we don't use the word cavil anymore. What is that? But I had no idea his experience and his impact in the early, I think maybe second revival or whatever. It
What's funny is I've read portions of this online. So this book is so old that I came across it when the internet was a wee lad, and they had portions of it up that were photocopied or something back in those
Yeah.
days. And so I had seen pirated sections of the book. I don't know why I never read, but I remember thinking this dude's life is amazing.
He is all in.
So-
Yeah, he's pretty great. And I read the whole thing. It's a little it's fantastic. The first part is very the whole thing is wonderful, but the first part's very, you can't put it down.
Yeah.
And then as he documents, I think he was 75 when he wrote it. He didn't want to read it. He didn't want to write it, and he was finally talked into it as he was getting kind of on in years, but he remembered everything. But he, eventually goes town to town to town, all the revivals. But in the first part, I think what moved me the most, well, there was a couple of parts that were very moving, but his experience, his salvation experience was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And and I think because in the last few years I've been saved a long time, but I had an experience and there was some things I could really relate to. And so you're reading, I mean, not near as wonderful, but you're reading it. And I think I texted you that day and I was like, I just bawled all the way through this chapter. I couldn't stop crying. The way God met him. And just,
Well, if you could summarize that for somebody who hasn't read a book that is this old,
yeah.
what was the story and how did it impact you?
Yeah. So I think the first chapter is his growing up. He's in New England, they moved around, I think Oneida and New York and different places, and didn't really have churches in the areas they were at. Eventually he becomes a lawyer and moves to a town in New York and goes to church. He, it's very Calvinism, which is, I don't know, I'm not a scholar in religion, but it was predominant in that time in the location he was at. And that was more along the lines of God saves the ones he wants to save. And if he hasn't called you, there's really nothing you can do to form that relationship. Am I close?
Heavy on the sovereignty of God, yeah. Total
Sovereignty of God,
depravity,
yeah.
yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things that, if he didn't call you, there wasn't a lot of evangelism, I guess, maybe at that time. So anyway, all that to say, he went to church and he went to the prayer meetings and all the things, sort of investigating religion, but really didn't know God. Probably still needed to be saved, obviously. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of, he goes along and then it's like God just started drawing him like he does, right? God draws us. And so he starts drawing him and he's got that conviction, but he doesn't really want to move that direction because he has the resistance that we all have when we don't want to say no to our flesh or whatever. In fact, he said he used to have a Bible on the table in his office at the law firm and he'd read it all the time. But when he started getting that conviction, he put it away and he didn't want anyone to see him reading it. It was embarrassing him. So anyway, it's kind of a longer story.
Doing something to me.
I know. And he just was like, it was because he was embarrassed that he needed God, and he, anyway, he can't sleep. He's just so under the conviction of the Holy Spirit. And then finally he's embarrassed to need God, as we all are when we don't have him. And so he finally goes out in the woods and he says, I won't leave until I resolve this issue of my salvation. He decided at some point he needed to be saved. And he goes out there and of course he can't, he just can't get there. He's just like praying and maybe like the heavens are locked or whatever, how it is sometimes. And anyway, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read it, but basically he gets out there and he's regretting that he said he wouldn't leave till he resolved it because he can't.
And then taking longer than he thought.
I don't. And he's so worried. Well, that was the whole thing. He's so worried someone would see him. He's just like panicked. And every time he looks up, or hears a twig or whatever, he's so worried. And so he finally, it's like God just, in one of those moments where he thought he heard something, look, because he's praying, God just showed him like he does, his pride. And it just like overwhelmed him with how arrogant he was, how much he feared man's opinion, and he just fell apart, But it's that wonderful, like it's that wonderful, sweet conviction where you just fall apart, but you're just so happy that he showed you, So he's got all this emotion and then he, of course, God starts downloading revelation of scriptures and that he probably had never read, didn't know, and so he just, I don't know how many hours. I think he thought he was there just a couple hours, but he's there a long time. You know how it is. And then you just, he just, it's so funny. It's it's Old English, so you have to kind of get through it, but it's such a funny read because he starts walking back to town and his mind's completely silent. And he's like, I grieve the Holy Spirit. Like he thinks that God's gone because his mind is quiet, but in actuality, it's because all the thoughts of the enemy, he's been completely restored, like completely saved, completely cleansed. And it's quiet. And he doesn't know what it is. And he doesn't even understand. Anyway, that was something I could relate to. It actually goes on and I don't want to take too much time.
Yeah, right.
He has another whole, like that day, a Holy Ghost, just like, God just pouring out on him and he's bawling it. It's all the thing. And then this revival breaks out in his town. But just that I don't know, that man pleasing, that pride, I cried through the whole thing, but that part was the start of it. Like reading that sentence where he goes, all of a sudden he was just shown by God just how far, I don't know, you just want to think God created us and we're beautiful and we're good, but you want to think that you're doing, you have something there that is good enough, I don't know. And for me, that was something I could relate to. So beautiful book. There's another part I love in it, but it's just, and he just is all in, you know? It's just, anyway.
Would
So God asked me to give it to you the other day. I was talking to God, and I was dealing with the fact that there was a lot I didn't want to surrender. And you think you've surrendered a lot, and then he starts like,
Oh, I know the feeling.
and he asked if I give that book to you, and I'm like, I really don't want to because it's very precious to me. Not only is it precious because I like to look through it, but also it's old. You know, can I get another like all the things? And so you wrestle a little bit, and then you're like, okay. So I give it to you, and I said, this is less about you reading it and more about me letting go. So that was that.
Interesting. So would you I I even know the answer, so but I hesitate to say it, but you said there's a lot of things about this story that resonated with you about, like, your faith walk. So would you consider yourself similar to Charles Finney or no?
Uh, Only in the sense that God like found us both, you know, and revealed more than we ever imagined there was out there, and just kind of changed our mind in a really fantastic way. But other than that, no, no, not just that. Just
I know it's kind of a crazy thing to consider, but I actually think you're on similar paths in many ways. Um, I was supposed to ask, and my wife made sure.
oh,
This is one of the first parts of parts of the question or series of questions, really. Um, the question is, what motivates you? You've been such an inspiration to the young women of the church and people who meet you in business. You seem to be grounded in faith. But I think her question was, and you could give me the Sunday school Jesus is the answer if you want to, and that's totally acceptable here. I will accept it. But I I think she wanted to know, like, as a woman, getting up out of bed, was it loving your husband well? Was it providing a home for the kids? Was it, is it seizing the day in business and all the other things that you do? What is it? What motivates you? When you get up out of bed in the morning and you start to center your thoughts, what excites you to go seize the day?
wow, that's a great question.
What motivates you? Let me get the right words that you said. What
Motivates me.
motivates you to live this life that other women want to kind of aspire to? I don't know that you knew that, but kind of setting an example whether you wanted to or not.
You know, it's funny because I'm 60. I'm 60. So what motivates me, because I look at your wife and she's much younger, and I think it's changed over the years. I mean, the things that got me out of bed when I was 20 or 40 isn't what gets me out of bed today. So I guess I'm wondering with her question, what is she talking? I'm hoping or thinking she's talking now because that's our relationship is a now relationship.
Mhm.
Over the years, it was getting your kids ready or getting to work, or there was times that job was super important. All of those things. Not that my job isn't important now. If my boss ever watches this, my job is really important. But there was times that was
I
like
love my job.
identity.
I
I
love my
love my
job.
job.
I love my boss. I love my boss. Yeah.
All of it. Um, uh, you know, I think there was times where my identity was weighted heavier in those things than it is now. Um, so uh, yeah.
Well, what about now then?
What about now? So now is crazy. Now is crazy. I don't know. The best part is the Jesus answer. The best part is the Jesus. So about, I don't know, 4 years ago, God just really um, showed me a new part of himself, you know, and it's been a little bit of a 3 to 4 year journey, and it's been amazing and something that you just go like for the first, even now, but for the first couple years, you're like, how did I go all these years as a believer and never know, and never, I mean, you just cry because you don't, like, for at first you want to go, there's so many wasted years that I didn't know his love was like this. Like I believed all the things, you know, he loved you, but now you're like, you just, I don't know. I just cried and cried because I'm like, all that time, you know, but it's not a lot of time to him. I don't think he just finds the perfect time. Not answering your question, but what motivates me, Jesse, I think, uh, just I don't know, you get up and you just go, I don't know, okay, I get up, feed the dogs.
Yeah.
That's, you got to feed the dog.
You gotta feed the
I
dog.
just have one.
Dogs
This
are
week I have
friendly.
3 dogs, but normally 1 dog.
I too get up out of bed because of
Feed
my
the dogs.
dogs.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
motivation.
yeah,
It's a negative motivation. Like, guys, come on. Anyway,
yeah.
go ahead.
But if
Dogs are
I'm
friendly.
laying in bed and the dog's quiet and I'm, you know, I don't know, somebody said once, they said, when you're laying in bed in the morning, you're not having to jump up to an alarm, just be careful of your thoughts. What's the first thing in your mind? And I thought that's so true because so often you worry or you start, what have I got going? And just trying to capture that and make sure it's taking you where you want to go, for that day. But anyway, feed the dog, sometimes walk the dog in the summer if it's light out. And then, you know, I I have a place in the house. We all do, you meet with, not that we all do, but I do that I meet with Jesus and just sitting down and just like finding that quieting your soul and just going, oh, and then, no matter what you were thinking and no matter how bad the night before was, it's like, God, every morning, his mercies are new. And the Holy Spirit just kind of shows up and you're like, oh, that's what it's all about. That's for me today, like the last 4 years. The prior 56, not as much.
Not so much.
So Jesse, just find Jesus. Is that the Sunday school answer? But
That's perfect.
but she knows. I know she does.
It begs the question, what happened 4 years ago?
Ugh.
Because life up until then, I don't know if you know this or not. I might have said it in Greg's. I think I did say it in Greg's episode. By the way, you're married to Greg Black. He was on a previous episode.
Yeah.
And he's an elder in the church, and you guys have been married apparently for a long time, he says. And so I grew up on stories. My early faith walk, at least with Grace, were stories of you guys being led of the Lord to do some incredible things, and it really challenged my faith. So to hear you say that the prior 56 years were like, I didn't know his love kind of a thing, at least to that extent,
Yeah.
is like kind of earth shattering. Makes me want to know what happened 4 years ago.
Right?
Let's unlock that door. What
Yeah.
happened? What happened 4
Yeah.
years ago?
So prior to 4 years ago, okay, so Greg and I have been married, I don't know, I should know this, since 1987. I'll say it that way. And it's been a great journey.
Great dude.
Good.
I mean, you have to say, I mean, he's
Yeah.
your husband or whatever,
No,
but like,
he's a good man.
I love your husband so
I know.
much.
Everyone loves my husband. He's amazing. He's a lot of fun. He's the fun one. I'm the socially awkward, Anyway,
Which
so
is amazing. Let me just hop in here real quick. Which is amazing because you guys, you and your husband host a lot of parties, a lot of social gatherings and whatnot. And the pairing of you two is incredible because he's the otter, the personality that's just flitting around, making sure everybody's, having a good time.
Yeah.
But y'all's hospitality doesn't happen. It's not if he was just bouncing around at any party, it would be like, oh, this is a great party. But there's something about your home that you have established that's welcoming and it's inviting. It's where you can take down your guard and you can be seen and known, but not in like an invasive way. And I've noticed that there's a handful of people, if you know Karen Whaley, she and Jordan have the
Same.
gift of hospitality as well.
Absolutely.
Well, so what I'm getting at is you have the gift of hospitality, and I think it's incredible. I don't know whether you know it or not, but like when people go to your home, they just feel re-energized, like they've hung out with family and they've
That's cool.
been able to let down their guards and stuff.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
anyway,
Very good family. Yeah. Well, so
Greg's cool too. Go ahead.
Greg is cool too. He's great. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. So we were married the first 20 years, and he had you can watch his podcast. He's talked about that. After 20 years, he decided he wanted to become an airline pilot, a commercial airline pilot, and so the hardest part for me at that point was like I just said to him, I said, I don't know that I'd be good with you not being home every night. I don't know that I can make that work. Like,
Yeah.
they're gone a lot.
They're going a lot.
And we had 2 kids. And he said, no. it won't be like that. He says, there's places where you can have a local trip home every night. I'm like, and there's more that, I think he talks about how shocked he was on his podcast, how shocked he was. I said, yes, let's do it. Part of my motivation to say yes wasn't, I wept when we left Stephenville. I loved it here. I didn't want to go, but he wasn't happy. He wasn't fulfilled in his job, and he is the hardest worker I know.
Mhm.
He's such a hard worker. So he'll do anything, but he just wasn't finding that spot, and God's found that spot for him in the airlines. So it was all, hindsight's 2020. But anyway, that was the shift. He went to the airlines. We went to Phoenix. He went to flight school. I worked and took out, crazy loans. That was amazing that God took care of.
Mm.
Literally, I don't know if he talked about that in his podcast, but we took over $100,000, $120,000 in flight school loans, and
Which
we
in
moved to.
19, what'd you say it was, 87?
Oh, the flight school was 2002.
2002?
So, but
Still.
the crazy thing
Whoa.
was it was right on. So we thought we were supposed to be there 18 months, and then he was going to get a job. It was 6 years because, they sell you, I don't know, the poster child package or whatever.
Sure.
So anyway, but
Best
it was,
case scenario.
I know. So we rented for a year, and then we decided we were going to buy a house. We're here for a little while. So we bought a house. We were there 3 years. And then the housing, if anybody remembers the housing market around 2005, the whole housing bubble. And I'm watching it, and I go, we got to sell, because we knew we wanted to move. And I'm like, this is not going to last, and we're going to get stuck. And so I'm like the one that says, we got to sell. We got to go back to renting. And I just said that for months or weeks. And Greg's the one's like, well, he goes and calls. So we make a perfect couple, because he gets on the phone. He's like, I'm going to make this happen. And so, and our house sold. 3 people looked at it, sold. We had friends that listed a month after us. Nobody sold. It was right on the cusp. But when we sold, we made so much money. We had the house for 3 years. We paid off almost the entirety of that loan because the value had just
Could you
skyrocketed.
tell, this is a little rabbit trail for me. I'm interested in investing in
Oh,
real estate and whatnot, because they say that a lot of that's going on right now. But could you tell that they were over leveraging? People were over leveraging and just buying
oh
crazy
yeah, oh yeah.
as just a homeowner. Everyone knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, it's not. So because anyway, even when we bought, and we had great credit, and we've always been great payers on mortgage or whatever, but we weren't making enough to pay our mortgage, but we knew we could afford it because we just had a real tight budget, and we knew we could do it. But the banks wouldn't have bought it, even though we had perfect credit. But they had something called a stated income loan. I don't know if they still do that, but I would be surprised if they did. But what it is, they were like, we're just going to say we make this much, and you're just going to take our word for it, kind of is how that went. And there's more to it. If there's any realtors watching this, they're probably like, that's not. But that's kind of what we did to get into that house. And so there was just a lot of stuff going on. When we bought our house, even 3 years before we sold it, there was a good realtor friend of ours that worked with us, and he said, every house that goes on the market, Deanna, there's 12 offers the next day, because California was moving to Arizona, and they had so much cash. And but all that is that God just, like, 3 years later, we sell the house, we make like $100,000 in 3 years. We just never had money. Like, we always, nip and tuck, and we're on these school loans, and literally almost completely paid off that student loan. So I don't know. Like, when God's in it, I'm not saying it's always going to be financially lucrative. There was many years that, you're waiting for that to happen. And there's other stories where we're like, didn't know if we were going to make it. But anyway, you just poured out blessing in that. Okay, so the whole point 4 years ago, what happened was that after the first 20 years of our marriage, and then flight school, and then Greg went to the airlines, and he left for the airlines, and at the same time, the same month or a month later, Danielle went to college, and my son was I guess that would have made him, he's 2 years younger than her, so we would say grade 11.
He's a
Just
junior.
Junior, yeah.
Mhm.
But he was in marching band, had a part-time job, drove, and so he was gone all the time. And then we had another girl that lived with us that was Danielle's age, and she also went to college or went to Texas. So all of a sudden, it went from like house full of people to just me most of the time, and I crashed. I would
What do you
drive
mean
home
by
from
that?
work. I would be crying on the way home from work. I was lonely. I mean, that's the short answer. I was lonely. I think that, you don't realize how codependent you are in all your relationships until they're stripped away. And then you're like, I don't have, that was who I was, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a full-time job and I worked um, in a very good position and made good money. But I was like, you come home and what I did. I just cried. So for how many years did I do that? Long time. Not every night did I cry, but you get the idea. It was just this lonely stage of my life. And I mean, Greg and I have talked about this, but he would come home, he was gone 4 days at a time, then come home for a couple days. But initially he was in training for weeks and I didn't see him. And anyway, all that to say, fast forward.
Weeks?
Well, when they first go, they go,
He sounds like a deployed soldier.
yeah, I think we just talked about the other day and I don't remember, 2 months, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, the first.
Wow.
Because they go in, they have to do all the schooling, and they actually encourage them not to talk to people at home as much, or not to go home. They encourage them not to go home because it's really disruptive to their training. It is a little bit like that, probably. And I don't know that every airline's the same, but just the new hires, that's what they do.
It's intense.
Yeah. So I was alone, and everybody had left. Like Brian was there a little bit, but it was a shock. And I just kind of made this agreement with myself that I was lonely, like that I was abandoned, and I didn't know how to socialize without him. Like for 20 years, we went everywhere as a couple, but people would invite me places, and I would turn them down because I didn't know how to be a person without him socially, which is embarrassing to say, but that was who. I mean, I don't know. You don't realize, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And of course today I go, well, God just stripped it all away because he couldn't get to me. You know what I mean? Like he just couldn't get to me because I was Greg's wife. I was, anyway, I stayed in that mindset for years and years. And, I just remember, we came back, so after, I don't know, 2008, we moved back. So he was in the airlines a couple years. He was based in Fresno at first, and I still lived in Arizona. And then when Brian left to go to college,
Wait. You're not even in the same city? I don't know how far Fresno and...
no, airline pilots can be based, or they have what they call their domicile, which is that's where their flight takes off from when they start flying, and then they can get to that base however they want to, and of course they can commute for free if they can get a flight, or sit in the jump seat if there's room. So
was he home?
he
He
was
just...
he was home some.
Okay.
He was home after he finished his initial training. He was home probably, I don't know. And it changes. It's like 3 days this week, 4 days next week, 1 day, and then back. And it's always a mishmash. I remember watching when I was a kid, there was a TV show that was about a flight crew, and they traveled with the same crew every flight all season long in this TV episode. And it's not like that now. I don't know if it used to be, but he's with a different uh, pilot and different crew sometimes on every flight, but usually on every trip, 4-day trip or 3-day trip. It won't change for that. But next week it's someone he's never met. So it's hard for him too. It's very anonymous and what's a lot of anonymity, and like you don't know people if it's a big base. Anyway, so he was based in Fresno, and so he would like leave the house, fly, commute, or take a jump seat to Fresno, and then take his flights for however many days, and then he would land, commute back. And so that commute may take half a day. So he's even losing his days off on the commute. But a lot of them do it because they like where they live, or their wife doesn't want to move, or they have family there and that helps with the kids, or whatever they do. So he was based in Fresno at first, and I was still in Arizona. And his bases, he's probably been based 5 or 7 different places in his 20 years there. But eventually, when Brian left, I'm like, we had talked about moving to where he's based, but his base can keep changing, and not that it's they request for it to change, but also if you want to go to captain, it's going to change, and then I don't know. Usually they're in control that it changes, but they don't always control where it goes. I don't know. It's a whole thing. So anyway, he and I decided we were going to move back to Stephenville so that I'd have family around because I was struggling. And I had parents here, and I had a sister here at the time, and her husband, and then we came back. So all that time, I don't know. I'm just rambling, but it was a very lonely time for me. I had a full-time job, and I moved here and had a full-time job. But I just never. I'm sure I was mad at God, because I felt like I'd lost my husband. I
This
hadn't.
wasn't the life that you'd pictured, or
No, I hadn't signed up. I mean, that conversation, he's like, it's not going to be that way. And here it is, and all the resentments you have and all the things that you hang on to. But mostly I was just sad. In fact, Kathy White, and I remember going to dinner after we moved back and we were at Cotton Patch, and she goes, you just look so sad. And I was sad all the time at home, at work. And that was the hard part, coming home to an empty house, work, you're engaged and everything. Anyway, fast forward. I was in that way too long. And eventually, like on the inside, you're not right spiritually. You go to church, you're doing all the things, but you're just not, you're not right. You're tremendously lonely, but I mean, he was home and we'd go places. Like when he's home, you just do your thing, but then it's all the other time. So anyway, I was talking to some of the ladies the other day, and I told this story, and I don't know that I've ever told you, but you were a new pastor at our church, and you did, at the end of the message, you said, I want to do some listening. You didn't call it listening prayer back then, but you said, I want everybody to bow their head and just listen and see, if God will speak to you, whatever you said. And, I had rarely heard from God. I mean, you prayed a lot. I mean, I prayed a lot, and, but I remember, I believe he spoke, and I just didn't ever hear full sentences, maybe a word, maybe something. And I remember bowing my head and we were praying, and I heard him say, you don't believe I can make your heart whole? And I didn't. And I was like, you're right. I don't think there's any way out of this, And so, but even then, I just, you get to where you just dig in to what you've agreed with that the enemy's suggesting, and that's where I was, and so I was that way. So I was kind of, I don't know, so 2008 we moved back, he'd been in the airlines a couple years. 2015 we moved to Bluffdale, which was just 20 minutes away, and I still worked here and everything. And I remember reading this book. Amy Grant wrote a book called Mosaic. Fantastic. It's just like every chapter is just a memory. And it's a beautiful book. She's just a beautiful perspective on life. But she tells this one story about, anyway, I won't tell it. But basically in the story that there's a older lady they meet, and the lady talks about how she had lost a child, I think, or something. And she couldn't get out of bed. She just couldn't get out of bed. And people would bring her meals. And Amy said, well, how long, because she said one day she just got up and she, brushed off her clothes, and she got up and she just decided it was time to live with life. And Amy said, how long was that? She said 2 years. 2 years.
whoa.
And I was like, but I read that and I'm like, okay, it's probably time for me to get on with life. And this was like in Bluffdale. So what was that? I don't know. 7 years, right? So at that time I was like,
7 years.
I don't know. I mean,
7 years, Deanna.
I know.
That's incredible.
And that wasn't the end, but that was the beginning. And that wasn't 4 years ago. That was 2000, I don't know, 17, maybe something. Maybe it was 15, somewhere in there. It was not long after we moved out to where we live now. And so anyway, but it was when I started entertaining the idea that I needed to move forward. This was my life. He's going to be gone. This is how it's going to be. And maybe just started thinking, I'm a mess, Jesus, and I probably need to do something about that. You do. Anyway, so I don't know. And that might have been like 2017. I don't know. So anyway, I was in that mode for a while of just kind of knowing I wasn't really right, but trying to, accept, and that's really when I started, like, because I used to not do anything. Like, I wouldn't go to weekly anythings because Greg's schedule changed so much that when he was home, you never knew when he was gonna be home, and I wanted to be home when he was home.
Mhm.
And so I'd lived all, however many years, 7, 9 years, whatever, where I didn't plan anything on a like, I didn't go to any weekly whatever, or weekly this or evening, and you wouldn't wanna have a regular time with anything. I wouldn't go because I couldn't go all the time, so I just anyway, it was probably a cop out, but that was it. So I finally was like, "No, I'm gonna start doing some of this. I need to start." Even he comes home and I'm doing whatever, then I'm doing whatever, and, I won't be home for a minute, but I need to start engaging in life again, and so that I did start doing that. Anyway, fast forward about 4 years ago, um, I was on, we have Facebook group called Erath County Rant and Rave.
Oh, oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Well, look, before you tell this story,
Just jump in there.
is would you call that particular page positive or negative? Is it an overall positive, negative, or is it like just net zero?
There's probably more rants than raves, I'll
Okay.
say. A lot of rants. It's anything that
It's where it's like an airing of, it's like Festivus kind of a thing. And
yes.
to me, it's like where everybody goes to air their grievances. Every now and again, there's probably 6 rants to 1 rave.
At least.
Wouldn't you say?
At least. And even the raves, people will rant about the raves. They just get in there in the comments. I'm a big comment reader. I think comments can be really funny.
I won't
So-
go unless I'm tagged. And then it's like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened?
Well, and I'm not really on Facebook much anymore. So I finally just, I'm signed up, but I don't really visit it very often. But anyway, I happen to be on there for whatever reason. And,
What does Jesse call it? Smutting. Digging through the smut.
oh my gosh, people are crazy. And also, like, you just like, people. So much fun. So anyway, this lady puts this post on there, and I hope I get it right. I don't know who she was. Don't know any of these people. And please forgive me. I'm not trying to make any kind of commentary. But I was in this mindset of like not, 100% by any means, right?
Sure.
So I read this post though, and this lady goes, "I'm looking for a Bible study, a home Bible study." She says, "I am a single mom, 4 kids, ages, I don't remember, baby to 7. I'm a smoker. I've got tattoos, and I don't want to go to church. I'm looking for a home Bible study that I can bring my kids. Anybody know of anything?" And I'm like, that's a tall order in this town because the tattoos alone are going to, there's a lot of people now, maybe today, but maybe 10 years ago or whatever. It was 4 years ago, I guess. Yeah, I'm just like, I wonder if someone will offer something. And I remember thinking, I wish I could offer this lady something, but I, at that time, didn't really have anything in my bucket to give her, right? But I'm like, and I wasn't going anywhere, but I'm reading the comments thinking, what's it going to be? And there were so many comments of, "Man, I hope you find something. Yeah, let me know if you find something. Good luck finding something." And then a lot of people are, "Come to my church on Sunday. Da, da, da. Our church has a ladies group. All the church," but nobody inviting her into their home, right? As you know. So anyway, I get down. I'm just reading, and there's so many comments, and nobody, no, everybody's like, "Be well, be fed," that kind of thing. And finally, I get to this comment, and this gal goes, "Oh yeah, come on. We have a group at my house. Bring your kids. We're reading this book. It's called Wildfires by Jesse Green, and we'd love to have you. I DM'd you my address," this kind of thing. And I'm like,
I'll see you there.
no, I didn't invite myself, but I probably wasn't, at that place. But what I did was like, okay, I want to know what book she's reading, because this lady's reading this book is outstanding, and she is, putting everything aside just to help people that are hard to help, or not, you know what I mean? Not hard to help, but not the beautiful people, right? The people that are going to be the kids and extra work and all the things. This lady is like, come on, she's just wide open, And so I ordered the book. And that was the beginning of the 4 years. And I don't want to honor the book any more than it's just a really great book. But that was the beginning for me. And I remember getting the book and it was something. It's called Wildfire, something a spiritual field guide to I don't know, revival or something. And then I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember the subtitles are good. Something about getting rid of apathy and all the thing. But I remember reading the what do you call it? The comments that people make at the beginning of the book, the recommendations,
Oh yeah,
whatever they are. She's like 4 pages of them. They're like all these recommend. And Bill Johnson, Chris Valentin, all those people, and Lou Engle, like just all these people. And I'm crying. They're like, this book will wreck you in all the best ways. I'm crying reading their recommendations. I'm like, but that book was the tool that God used to really bring me out of where I was at. That's what started. And it's a great book. Great book about being all in, you know?
What spoke to you
I don't know.
out of that book where you go? You said a little bit of it is timing, but there was something
Well, it wasn't just
catalytic about
yeah.
I'm reading this book at the time where God's getting me off
Yeah.
of stuck. I know that I want to re-engage again, and then there's this like pull to like where do we find where can we be broken but find community and connection and Jesus in it all. So what was it about the book that bridged it all together for you? Just
Yeah, well, it really was God. It was the book, but it was God. So, in the book, the book really tells the story of Jessie and her husband Parker. They felt called. They had a vision in New York. She saw people on the beaches in California being baptized, hundreds of people. So they sell everything.
vision or saw it?
Saw a vision,
Oh, okay.
like a
I didn't know. Like, sorry,
okay.
I didn't mean
Sorry.
to step on you there, but like I was making sure my brain caught that. I didn't know if you said she saw people getting baptized on the beaches up in New York, or if she saw a vision of people.
No, I think she was praying and
Wow, where's this going on?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. She was praying and it was something anyway that she saw and felt like I mean, anyway, so they sell everything, pick up and move with to California. Anyway, it's a great story. It's a fantastic story, but basically it happens. And just the way God said, they had to wait.
Whoa.
It doesn't happen instantly, of course, you know how it is. But they their ministry, part of their ministry, they baptize a lot of unbelievers, but also she really invites believers to be baptized also as just a way of just stepping into surrender or I don't know, just God wash me clean all over again. And so I kind of started following, I read the book, fantastic book. I started following her on Instagram and seeing a couple podcasts she had done or different, whatever it is. And she talked about that more. And I thought, man, she talked about, there was a conference she was at and they just invite people, believers, come out and get baptized. Just, step into the water, be surrendered. And I thought, man, I wish I could do that. I just would really like to do that. And it was really on my heart for maybe weeks, but you're thinking.
To get to one of these conferences and be baptized.
Yeah. But, anyway, one day, and the other thing that happened was that she talked about, and not in the book, but just on some where I had heard her talked about, prioritizing quiet time, which I had not done. I think at the beginning of 2023, I started trying to read again because I hadn't been reading the Word. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Like then you don't know, but like now you're like, how would you even? Anyway, so like I had started reading, and she had this thing. You know what? It's like the little things that make all the difference for you, like just this one thing that kicks it off. And she said, I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I drink coffee every morning. And she says, just pour a cup for Jesus and for you. Pour 2 cups of coffee, which for me, I'm like, that's a lot because it's sacrifice. You're wasting a cup of coffee. You know what I mean?
I
like,
drink
he's
really
not
nice
literally
coffee.
Drink it.
Jesus, if you are going to take it.
I mean, can I have yours?
Yeah,
exactly. So, and I thought I could do that. But it was just like that mental, he's here.
Yeah.
honor him like he's here, And I started doing that in the morning, and man, it just, I don't know. There's sacrifice. You're setting your alarm. I have a thing you can see on my phone right now. I've had it on there for, I don't know, 3.5 years, like 1 hour with Jesus. It just goes off on my phone every morning. I'm usually there when it goes off, but it's always on my phone. And it's not always an hour, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's on my calendar because you just have to, unless you just can't. Like this week, I have my grandkids and it's at night, but whatever, but, um, anyway, so I had really started prioritizing trying to meet with him, and there's just so many, the internet's crazy and
Understatement of a lifetime.
but it's amazing in that you've got, of course we have our church that has spiritual giants, but you've got all these other spiritual giants that you also people that just have lived all sorts of testimonies in lives, and you can hear their journey. And so you can pick up things like that, just whatever that spoke to me, and I'm like, I'm pouring a cup of coffee. And, someone else, Michael Koulianos, or was like, when you don't feel him, he's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's not there, I'm like, that was just like mind blowing to me. I'm like, well, because, I mean, I don't feel him. I don't know, all the things the enemy says that like just are going to discourage you from showing up. And anyway, so I had kind of started doing that. Back to the baptism thing. I am really rabbit trailing, but one day I've been really wanting to, I thought, man, that'd be a neat way to just re-surrender, whatever. And I just felt like I heard God say, what's stopping you? You've got water right here, which is not anything I grew up believing was okay. But in that moment, you're like, oh. And so I was on my way to work or had work. I couldn't, so I just put a note on my phone. This is my thing, I'm like, okay, whatever. When, tonight or whatever night, I don't know if it was tonight or the next night. I think I had something going. It was the next night, like, go baptize yourself. Like, this is on my phone, right? So that 2 nights later or whatever it was, but you have something on your face. What are you saying?
What's on my face?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So you wrote down on your phone.
I do this how I remember things.
You wrote down on your phone, baptize yourself later.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have an alarm set in your phone. I guess I'm emphasizing that because that's a little different. I think that's quite a bit different.
Okay.
I don't think people do that. So I think that's a little outside of the norm. I kind of want to know your thought process on that. Like, were you going, oh man, you grew up pretty much in the church.
Yeah.
And a normal Christianity baptism is you probably went and you talked to a pastor or whatever the leader, the bishop, whoever he is. And he said, hey, let's meet together. Let's walk through. The typical thing, like, you're putting your faith in Jesus. This is a public testimony. This is going to be you going into the waters and leaving your life behind and being buried with Christ in his death. And they break it down for you, right? And this is what you're going to be testifying of whenever you're raised to new life, type of a thing. And that doesn't sound like the normal deal. Or you may have, in some faith streams, they have people who go, I'm painting this. Let me tell you why I'm painting this.
Okay.
Because baptism is highly controversial in religious streams. It's things that pastors fight over. It's not a thing that I love to fight over, but it's something that religious leaders fight over. So I'm clarifying some different points here so I can understand where you're coming from. You may have some folks who need to be or would desire to be baptized again to recommit their lives. So you have some streams who will say, I got baptized whenever I was young, and some will say, I meant it, like I had the best of intentions, but like, the new wore off, kind of a thing, so I need to be re-baptized again. Some will say, I got baptized earlier on and I was peer pressured, or I was too young, or whatever, or that's what my church did, or my parents baptized me or wanted me to do it, and some sort of, and so now I'm going to be baptized because I'm under full awareness, and I want to, give my life to Jesus, make sure the whole world knows, even though I've been walking with so many different facets and flavors to this. I don't think I have heard before that I have water, I'll baptize myself. So I would like to know more about that.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I would say maybe part of my thought process was because it was new to me. I mean, I grew up Lutheran and I was baptized as an infant. Um, and then later in life, I think I was pregnant with Brian. I learned more about baptism being a statement of faith and a declaration, And so Dave baptized me when I was pregnant with Brian. Yeah, Brian. And as an adult in Sandra Peterson's swimming pool, So, I mean, that was both of those were very traditional and make sense to everyone, basically. This one probably not so much. But I had been listening a little bit, like I said, to Jessie Green, and um, she goes to a conference, I think, every year. I imagine I don't know if they still do, but in North Carolina, and I'm sorry, I wish I could remember the name of the church, but um, she had done an interview with this lady, and they were talking about, and this may have been, I don't know, this church also does similar, where they would baptize new believers, but also baptize in a way of surrender, or a way of just, I don't know, it's just saying, yeah, whatever you want, Jesus.
Yeah.
I just want you more, and but she did a podcast and a whole teaching on it scripturally on baptism, and I'm gonna wreck it, but the idea was, like, even in the Jewish faith, they have baptismal waters that were for cleansing, and I think if you've watched The Chosen, if you're a fan of that show, there's a scene where um the apostle Peter in that series is married and his wife has a miscarriage, and at the end she's struggling emotionally, but also, and they recommend that she goes into, do you remember the name of it? Because I can't quite remember the name.
What do you mean?
The water, there's a name for the water anyway that they step into. But anyway, you remember she steps
Oh, yeah,
into the
yeah.
water, and it's
I
like
just meant you remember the episode. Yeah,
yeah. Sorry,
Drawing
no,
a
but
blank on the waters
I can't
right
remember.
now.
There's a name for it. They
Yeah.
call it. But anyway, it's basically for her, it's an emotional cleansing. And
Mhm.
so I had watched this podcast where they kind of talked about how traditionally for the Hebrew people, the Jews, that this was an emotional cleansing or physical cleansing, but it was used kind of in that way. And that's one of the things they talk about. It's a longer podcast, and actually can't even find it anymore. I went back to look for it because somebody asked about it and I couldn't find it. But that was kind of going through my mind. And then I don't know. I don't know what else was going through my mind. Probably the fact that God's like, I felt like he
Yeah.
said, So I'm like, well, I don't know. How do you shake that, right? Anyway, so I didn't want to do, you just like, this feels silly. You're by yourself. It's just us, but I wanted the surrender piece of it. I just wanted the opportunity, and I felt like I'd heard that. So I was watching TV the next night or whatever night it was. Alarm went off, and I'm like, and I turned it off. I snoozed it or whatever. I turned it off, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I was sitting there about 3 or 4 minutes later going, what am I doing? Like, get up and go. You know what I mean? That you're crazy, just go. And so I just run the bath water and
I was about to ask you. I'm like, are we talking a pitcher of water here? Is this a shower?
sorry, TMI. I ran the bath water and I got in and I just prayed and I just bawled like a baby. I just bawled and bawled and bawled. I don't know what happened there. I think it really was only the start, to be honest. I just think he honored it. I don't know what else to say, right? But all this shame and guilt, and it just washed off. I don't know what else to say. It just was the beginning. And it's so, I can't explain it. Like, people have experiences, and that was not the most amazing experience I had. That probably came later. But it began something, and I don't know exactly why, except he loves humility and he loves surrender. So that's all my only explanations. That's all I got. But it started something where so I was not a big crier. You would not know that, but I was like, don't cry. I don't cry. We're not an emotional family. Like, never saw my parents cry. We never cried. You sucked it up. We're an intellectual family. You didn't do that. And one of the things I've been praying about was, God, I want to learn to cry, you know, and man, so that was the start. That was, oh yeah, I cry all the time now. I cry all the time, like in my car, just all the time. In fact, we have a new car and it's got the eye thing where it sees your eyes.
Oh,
If
yeah.
your eyes are closed, it's like beeping. I had to turn it off because like I'd be crying and it's
Same.
blaring beep beep beep. So anyway, but that was the beginning of God just starting to like emotionally wreck me. I'd read the scripture and I just couldn't make it through passages. I'm in the Revelation. I'm just the Lamb on the throne, you're just crying. I read the book of Ruth and I started that Tuesday study and Kathy Hyde was coming at the time. And I read the book of Ruth. I'm just crying. And I go to the group and I said, "Oh man, I was reading Ruth this week. It's an unbelievable book." I'm like, it's like just like a fairy tale. It's so beautiful. I just wept all the way through it. So the next week, Kathy comes. She goes, "I read Ruth this week." I said, "Oh, how'd you like it?" She goes, "It was okay." She's like, "No." And I didn't know. Like I thought it was just amazing. I'm like, I didn't know that it was the Holy Spirit just like, like just crushing me, and it wouldn't treat like that. Not everybody would feel that way. It was a long time before I realized it was not, it was just me. Like I kept texting my group. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this song, you got to listen." I'm
Yeah.
like, played it 8 times on the way to church this morning. I just cried all the way. And they're like, "That's pretty nice." They're just nothing. Like, not really. That's not true. They're very wonderful group, but it just, you're just wrecked all the time. Right. And so, but the most, I mean, okay, probably two stand out to me and there was many more, and there's always many more all the time. But to kind of wrap up the loneliness thing, I was laying on the floor, just playing worship music, and I only work 2 days a week now, so I have a little more, some more free time. But uh, and I don't know. But anyway, at some point, and it's not like I hear from God all, not like the real specific thoughts. It's getting more and more, but I don't know. The loneliness thing, he just showed me, like, it's hard to explain. When he corrects you, it's, like, so wonderful.
Mhm.
It's embarrassing, but it's so, like, I don't know how to say, like, the God of the universe comes down. I know he's in us, I get it, but you know what I mean? He comes down just to tell you something. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be like, could be something you screwed up, and you are so ecstatic that he took time to tell you, like, but he just showed me that I defined myself as a lonely housewife. Like I've just like made that an identity, a piece of my identity. And he showed me, I won't go into it, but he showed me a thing from when I was in high school and how I had like done the same thing with something else where like this is who I am, and it was a point of pride for me. Like it was something that um I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it really, but just it was an arrogant thing, for me to say, like, "Yeah, well, Greg's never home," or any of those comments. And not only was it a point of pride for me, but also how much I wounded him when I said that I was alone. And when he shows you that stuff, you're like, "I'm so sorry," but it just broke it off. It's like, not that I've never had a lonely moment, but like it was just gone. Like all those years of like, it's just gone. Like, I don't know. So you just go, "Okay, wow." That took a long time for me to see that, and for him, not that took a he did it in his perfect timing, but it's like, and I hung on to that a long time. So stuff like that, you're just like, "Oh, okay. Yeah." And then he just starts to show you his love, and it just like, you just see these pieces of how deep it is, and just I was and how I was going, we have this great, where we live is like little hills, it's not mountains, they call it mountain lakes, but it's just rolling hills. And the way I take to town, there's this, the grandkids love it because it's like, it used to be 50 miles an hour and you could actually make your stomach drop on the second thing. They loved it. And they've lowered it to 40 miles an hour, which is sad because the grandkids, well, Pop will still go. But nobody knows. He's not breaking the law. But
Sure.
Nana, she goes slower now. But anyway, this is earlier on, but I was going down that hill and, you're like, there's no police out there. There's not, and, It's fun. It's just fun. It's like a little mini roller coaster on the way out. And when they had first lowered it, to 40, I was going down it. And this was after the baptism, but probably not long afterwards, maybe in the first, I don't know, 3, 4 months. And, it's going down that hill, and in my mind, I'm like, you're doing that mental, like, no police around. I'm not gonna get stopped because I'm a worrier, so that's kinda my, is it safe, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he just downloads this, like, it takes longer to say, but it's like this instant, that all of a sudden how rebellious that thought is and how hugely far it is and how holy he is and how it's just like, I don't know, Jared, how far it is from how from what he wants for me, It's like, it's not who you are, it's not what he wants, and so you just cry all the way down, but it's like, it starts to show you how much he loves you and how deep his love goes and how there's stuff that I've agreed with for years and years that I thought was okay. And it's just nothing of what he wants and nothing of, I'm not even saying it well.
I think you're saying it pretty well.
I don't know. It's like how much I've agreed with that it's, it's not who I am. It's not who he is. And I just let it in. You're just like, oh, it's okay. And so then you become, I don't know, it just changes you, changes how you see things. And you start seeing things different. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's kind of on a similar new journey, very similar in some ways in that, she's just starting to see stuff like that. And she said, yeah, I just listened to this song. And I'm like, a song I always listen to. And all of a sudden you hear the song different. You know what I mean? And it is. It's like, I always love, and I do still love this song. I do. Stephanie Gretzinger sings "Show Me Your Face," Lord. I love that song. Beautiful song. But when I was, especially then, like in that first couple of years, I'm in this place, and at the end, it sings. Yeah, they sing. I can make it to the end if I could just see your face, and you're like, you just, I just couldn't even like. You're like, no, no, like you're just not in any. It's gonna come out wrong. I don't mean it to, but it's like in my heart, I'm like, oh, Father, no, I would never say, like, I'd never put demands. Whatever you want, like, I'd never put any demand on you. I'll, I'll make it if you say I make it, and not that you wouldn't, of course, want to see it, but more. But and I know that's the heart of the song, but it's like you'd hear these words and you're like, no, that you're on your face, but it's not groveling. It's just you just can't get low enough because you're so grateful. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the last 4 years has been like, and it comes and goes, and I have another gal I talked to, and early on, I was like, "It's a roller coaster." Like, there were seasons, where you're like, "Oh, like, I lost it. I can't feel him anymore," and you just have to keep showing up because, I don't know, I think he wants you to wait on him, and he's so good. And then you realize, and then eventually, after enough roller coasters, you're like, "No, if I don't feel him," I'm like, "I'm not afraid. Like, he's there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried anymore." But it's really beautiful. He's wonderful. He's wonderful, and, he just brings all this gratitude where that's so what Jesse says, "What's your motivation?" I don't know, I just wanna get up and meet with him, and you just it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of tears, but it's a lot of great, tears. So, anyway.
Well, to the tears, I said this to your husband, I'll say this to you. Um, when I was new, I think I was an intern. I was the sniveling, I was dating the preacher's daughter,
Yeah.
and everybody's kind of skeptical about everything. But I was coming alive, and I was meeting Jesus, and kind of what you're talking about. Like he's revealing things, and he's stripping gears, but I didn't know if everybody else was having the same. experience, or maybe you guys had already had it or something, and I'm in the kitchen, and I'm just kinda asking the Lord about it because 'cause we'd just gone to a conference, and I was wrecked, and Greg starts explaining what God had done in the conference and in his life, and he just starts weeping, and I grew up same way, like, we didn't cry, not that our family wasn't anti-emotion, we just that wasn't a lead thing, walk around crying, for me anyway, as a guy, and then military, you don't walk around crying,
Yeah.
you know, but I couldn't stop crying since the Lord, I don't know what you wanna call it, awakened my soul or strip back some layers. I don't know what it was, but he was talking, and every time I could hear him talk, I would weep, and I saw Greg struggling through the same thing, and something in me went, "There it is." Like, he's met with Jesus.
Yeah.
He's met with my Jesus. And I feel the same way whenever I see you tell your story of what he's done in the last couple of years. It's like, there he is. He's doing it again. He's doing like, we could just see him
Yes.
at work. I
Yeah.
I will say something significant has happened. I mean, it's observable, and that's fun. It's observable because I have women come up to me and say, We want Deanna to share and lead in this. We want her to do the Bible study. We want her to speak at the conference. And it's not something that you put yourself up for. You didn't say, "Hey, I wanna lead these You did mention the Bible study. You're like, "Hey, I gotta do something. I gotta help some people." Like, but you had started the thing already. But, the conference is it's like I the women's conference, they said, "It's Deanna. Something is going on. God is moving in Deanna. We want what she has." All the way down to the boss that you work for, it was gonna go be baptized. It's like, I wanna I wanna experience what Deanna experienced. And I love that your first correction is it's not the book, and it's not necessarily the experience for experience sake. It's the God behind it all who has shown me a little bit of his face and his glory, and he's worth all of it. And he is my motivation to come full circle.
Yeah.
It's my reason for getting up and being.
Yeah.
I think I think, I don't know that you were here. You might have been, and if you were, you can stop me. I shared a testimony with the church, and normally, you know how these things end. You've seen enough of mine because I know you watch some of the podcasts where I tell the person, if I know them, I share something that I wouldn't normally share with them in normal everyday life. But I think I'm gonna do a little something different with you. It's a big one for me because I'm not really sure that for some reason internally that I want a podcast world to know the depths of it, but I'm gonna go there because I asked my guests to go there. Something happened to me last week or so. God showed me some things that were off, through my friends and leadership in me. Just some things that can't move forward with, just kind of self-loathing type things that he doesn't feel about me, and he doesn't want me to entertain. And it was really hard because it was like, well, this is a part of who I am. It felt like they were saying, like, "We don't like you. We don't like you. We don't like you." It's what it felt like they were saying.
Mm.
It's not. They were saying, "You need to be free. We want to see you free. We want to see what God can do." Well, it led me to a weird spot of my personality type doesn't like being not okay.
Mhm.
I like to fix things and make them okay. And I know that the God of all the universe can quickly fix things and make them okay. But he wasn't fixing them on my timeline.
Oh.
And uh, and I'm not even sure that I knew that they were real issues. It just kind of felt like people were picking on me. And so anyway, I was sitting with the Lord. We do a thing. You alluded to it. We do. I believe in contemplative prayer, where it's really sitting. You could say in your happy place. Dave teases me, but I just let I just let the Spirit of God auto-populate my mind wherever He wants to take me, wherever He wants to meet me. I just find a quiet place and I sit. And I'm an imaginative person. I see things visually. Sometimes the Lord, when He speaks to me, He'll speak to me visually. So I'm sitting on a beach with Jesus. And we're just sitting there, and I'm a little sore at him. And y- we've been sitting together a long time, and I'm a little sore at him that he knows things. And he hasn't, and he hasn't disclosed those things to me. And he's just sitting there. I'm at a tree line, and I can see there's nobody else on the beach but me and Jesus, and just kind of sitting there. And he's working on something, and I'm venting, and he he looks over at me, and I'm asking, like, why didn't you? What do you want to do about all of this? Why didn't you tell me? Is this a real thing? And he smiles, and I don't know how the God of all the universe can smile and convict you so thoroughly that maybe there's something that they're saying that is actually from him that he wants to address, and you just know it kind of to the core of your being. And I asked him, like, what do you want to do about it? Because in my background, there's something off. We go, if there's a lie, there's a liar. We go find the demonic stronghold. We tear it down, and there's a whole system to it. And he just kind of smiles, like as he was, and he head nods towards the water. And I know what he wants to do, but inside of my head for just a split second, I'm like, but there's one baptism, and this might be my own imagination. This isn't, the living God of all the universe telling me that he wants to baptize me in these waters. And I'm just having this like internal hitch for a second, but I know it's him, and I know that the presence of the Lord is there. And I remembered your story. I just wanted to share with you, I would have never gotten in those waters, and I probably would have been able to allow myself to go there if I hadn't heard your testimony before about allowing the Lord to like baptize you. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm about to baptize myself with this Jesus that could be a construct of my own mind. But I look back and I just felt a confirmation from the Holy Spirit that like this is true and this is something that he wants to do. And I just there's a teasing thing amongst pastors where we say, like, hold them under, like if they're a particularly tough case, and we joke about it. Nobody, like, we tease about one another, like we had to hold them under, and make sure all the world came off, and make sure it really took before we pulled them back out. And I remember thinking, I thought that, and Jesus smiled. I didn't say that. I mean, I know it's this real kind of meta type experience with the Lord, but I thought, man, I hope he holds me under. Well, he smiles, and then he baptized me there in the ocean, and I don't know, something happened. I felt some stuff break off of me. I felt some shame. Everything you were describing, I felt shame break off. The way that I think about myself and the voices that I've listened to in the past that were like, they're okay, they're good, rational. No, they weren't. They had nothing. It had nothing to do with what he had planned for me. And anyway, I wanted to share that with you. That was a pivotal point in my life, and it seems like you and Greg have been involved in some pivotal pieces of my faith journey. And I just wanted to give feedback to that, like the boldness of your faith to follow the Lord, particularly in that moment of like, I'm just ready, I'm all in, has had an effect on women who are people who watch your life and me. And so I want to say thank you.
I'm glad you got in. Yeah.
You're
You're
glad I
welcome.
got in. Yeah, yeah. I truly, I probably wouldn't without your story. I'm just so very literal. I was baptized at 6. I had a baptism like experience. I know the world was left behind, and like I'm raised anew. It was amazing. I actually opened my eyes as I was coming up out of the water, and I could see the waters part, and like I knew like that was death and this was life, and the pastor was standing there, the light was coming over his shoulder. It felt like a light beam from God kind of a thing. It was an amazing experience, but so was being baptized at the beach and having shame ripped out of you.
Yeah.
Well, more like oozed out because we went under for a minute. Anyway,
So great.
so thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us. I think you're good. I think that's a good landing point for here. You good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's so much
you.
more that we can go into, and that's usually the deal with these. You get about one topic at 30,000 feet.
That's all right. No, thanks for having me. I loved it. Love reliving everything he's done, and love you. I love this podcast.